Welcome to NBA Today, exclusively on YouTube. This is where we do not do the monotennis stuff that Kendrick Perkins was talking about on NBA Today on linear television. This is the exclusive content just for you all. You might have to tune into NBA Today to get that joke. But, gentlemen, Brian Windhorst, Kendrick Perkins, the annual NBA GM survey, it came out this week. It's a poll of 30 general managers around the league on a variety of different questions. A couple caught our attention, including this. When asked which player in the league has the highest basketball IQ, Nikola Jokic led the votes with 50% of GMs taking the finals MVP. LeBron James, that's who I would have voted for, topped this category last year, came in second with 33% of the vote, and then Chris Paul rounding out the top three with 10%. So, Brian, do you think the general managers got this one right this year?
Let's just get the preamble here that just saying that I pick LeBron doesn't mean I don't think Jokic is smart.
Yes,
we're all good with that?
Yep. Got it.
I think if you watch the way LeBron plays, the way he is able to engage all the players on the court while manipulating the game is why he's been at the top of this for a decade plus. I think Jokic blows us away with the way he sees things before everybody else, and it leads to incredible passing and high efficiency. But that, I don't know if you can compare it to the way LeBron plays, where he is the leader of the defense and leader of the offense, and in a lot of ways manipulating all other 9 players on the court at the same time. I will invite you to go back to those finals where he played against the Golden State Warriors repeatedly with a team that was less than the opponent and manipulated the game through basketball intelligence and making some of those series and winning that one. To me, that is his resume, which stands untested and untouched to this point as the highest IQ player in the league.
Perk, where do you stand on this?
I'm with Wendy, and here's the thing, Malika, it's two sides of the court, right? We always focus on the offensive end, and it's clear that some of these general managers did the same thing, and I'm not taking anything away from Jokic and his passing ability, but when you think about LeBron James being the ultimate floor general, it's times that you can actually watch the game and see him defensively calling out plays and calling out actions that the other team is running when he's not even involved in it. That's next level right there. That's next level when you're able to call out someone personnel or call a triple switch without it being in the game plan. That's also basketball IQ. So as much as I love Jokic and the way that he represents the center position, I have to go with LeBron James when it comes to who has the highest IQ in the game of basketball as a player.
This is absolutely no disrespect to Nikola Jokic. LeBron James is just superhuman in his ability to see and read the game. Here's another one that I wanted to toss out to you, gentlemen. The player acquisition this offseason who's going to make the most impact, the biggest impact. This is what GM said. Damian Lillard, 47%. Drew Holiday, 13%. That seems a little low to me. Bradley Beal, 10%. So, Wendy, which player would you say is going to make the biggest impact? Are you surprised by the way these percentages shook out?
I wish I could reform this question, Malika, and say the maneuver of Dame Lillard to Milwaukee and Drew Holiday to Boston, the way that balances it out. I mean, individually, I agree, picking up one of the top offensive players in the game, one of the top 75 players of all time.
Sure.
An ideal pick-and-roll teammate for Giannis is awesome. But when you look at the 360-degree view that Boston took one of the most important players on the Bucks team and imported them to their team without helping the Bucks, that is part of this answer. So I think that percentage should be tighter. I know that you can't split your vote, but the funny thing about this is in other parts of the survey, Malika, there was a lot of appreciation paid to Drew Holiday. So this one's a little bit out of that range a little bit, but I actually have been on the position that the acquisition of Dame Lillard is huge, but the fact that Holiday is going to the opponent has minimized its impact.
Well, and I asked John Horst about that very thing, if he foresaw that the trade that he made to land Damian Lillard would also end up helping arguably their biggest foe. I believe their biggest foe, at least as it stands right now in the Eastern Conference. And he said, no. Like, I did not see that coming. And he still would have made, obviously, the trade for Damian Lillard. They got better, but so did the Boston Celtics. Let's do this one here, Perk. The rookie that was the biggest steal of the draft, 43% of the general managers are picking Rockets' Cam Whitmore. He went at the 20th spot in the draft. A three-way tie followed Whitmore. Where do you stand on this, Perk? Biggest steal?
I actually agree, Malika. Sorry to cut you off, but I actually agree with the general managers. I actually agree with the GMs. Here's why. Cam Whitmore didn't fall because of what he's going to bring on the floor. He fell because of, the other things, that he probably was involved with. When it comes to hooping, we saw what this young man did in Summer League. And part of the reason that the Houston Rockets were not afraid to move on from Kenyon Martin Jr. is because of what this young man is going to bring to the table. I expect Ime Udoka to have him in heavy rotation, playing heavy minutes. He's going to do wonders, and the city of Houston is going to embrace this young man and how he plays the game of basketball night in and night out.
Yeah, talking to scouts, talking to folks around the league leading up to the draft, it was like Cam Whitmore may have the most NBA-ready body right now, and you can totally see that now that he's on the floor. Brian, where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that 43% of them said that, but like 60% of them passed on Cam Whitmore. So you always have that kind of back and forth when you look at something like this. Obviously, the background research on Cam Whitmore concerns some teams. I think you can say that. He came out in Summer League with a mission, and he's already come out early in this season with a mission to prove them wrong, and is also on a team where he's going to get an opportunity. The Rockets are prepared to let young players play. One name I will add to this to keep an eye on, Keontae George that the Utah Jazz got, who went through a physical change from his season in Baylor last year to the guy who showed up in Summer League, was a much different type of player in college than the player who was drafted.
Yep.
And I think he'll get some opportunity to play in Utah. That's a guy who, if we retake this survey 6 months from now, could end up much higher.
I almost had to take my earpiece out because Greg Condis, who is our producer, who is a fan of the Utah Jazz, said, yeah, so loud in my ear when you shared that, Brian. I appreciate that. This isn't scripted. We didn't prepare this before our YouTube segment here. But, Perk, I'm curious. We came out with the GM survey on ESPN.com this week. And another thing that has been trickling down is the NBA rank. We saw players that are up until the top 10. We have everybody but the top 10 that is out this week. That's going to come out tomorrow. And I'm starting to see players weigh in on various social media platforms. Kyrie Irving saying that I think I can say the true word, but I'm not going to on YouTube, who the F cares? I never will about rankings. He came in 34th this year. Rankings, they don't mean a damn thing in the league, especially not from media platforms, et cetera, et cetera. How much do you think players are actually looking at, affected by, care about these player rankings, Perk?
If they didn't care, they wouldn't respond. And if you got a problem with it, do something about it. The season is about to tip off in less than a couple of weeks. You got an opportunity to prove everybody wrong that probably gave you the wrong ranking, or you felt like you should have been ranked higher. But this is the great part about the league, right? And if you're a guy that cares, especially a guy that's in that all-star, superstar caliber categories, then go out there and show us why you should be ranked higher. But it should add fuel to the fire if you give a damn. Well, and that's, to be honest,
what it sort of seems like. Yeah, that's what it sort of seems like watching them roll in from someone like John Morant, who in his player ranking, it was noted that not everything was on the court of why his ranking is lower than it was last year, Brian. And he's basically saying, I'm taking notes. I'm going to come back and show people who I am as a player.
Okay, let me just say something about the ESPN rankings.
Yes, please.
Number one, I have not done them for the last 10 years because I think that they aren't presented in the same way that it's voted on. It's not like 100 people get together and they say, where do you have Kyrie? I have him 32nd. I have him 37th. And then it's like, oh, let's make him 34th. It's an algorithm where two players are ranked against each other, and then the computer sorts it out. And the difference between being 34th and 25th can be a fraction of a point. Having said that, there is a sort of a wisdom of the crowd, and there have been times, Maybe not every time, but there have been times when the NBA rank system has correctly predicted a player's slide back in his career and correctly predicted a player's rise by the collective people who pay attention to this league for a living. And so while I think they're a little bit complicated and the way they're presented isn't necessarily the way they're decided, and I don't think that that's well understood, I do think that if you look at them, there is something there. So if you're offended by it or if you're inspired by it, while that's the point of them, I do think that there could possibly be a reason for the players to take a look at it as someone who doesn't participate.
See, this is why Worldwide Windy gives us the context that we need. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us on NBA Today on our YouTube exclusive. We will have more segments coming up tomorrow, and you can catch us on ESPN at 3 o'clock Eastern.
Try to boast at what I look like. How to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA on ESPN.